Hello and welcome to Saturday Ticket's accurate division winning predictions 2024-2025 NFL. So here we have the division winners all the way down this column, and it's going to go from the right to the left as the winners to the losers of the divisions. So the AFC East, I've got the Jets finishing first. Aaron Rodgers will be back, and this team was great without him. They've upgraded their offensive line, they've upgraded their defense, adding Hassan Reddick, a defense that was already an exceptional defense. And this will propel them to the top of the division, possibly the top of the conference. We'll see how that shakes out. As Breece Hall will be running behind the good offensive line, and Garrett Wilson will be catching passes from Aaron Rodgers, his first competent quarterback that he's ever had. And this was a prediction I had last year, and it didn't pan out because of Aaron Rodgers' injury, so hopefully he's still all right at 40 years old. Second in the division, I've got the Miami Dolphins, Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa, Bradley Chubb coming back later in the year. They should finish ahead of the Bills, who have lost several key roster pieces, such as Stephon Diggs, who left the Bills, and Matt Milano to injury, Tre'Davious White, and Jordan Poyer, who did go to the Dolphins. The Dolphins will still have a solid defense with Jalen Ramsey and Jalen Phillips and some other key pieces. They should easily finish ahead of the Bills, and then the Patriots in last place. The Patriots have been going downhill since Mac Jones' rookie year. They've been going straight downhill. They have lost Matthew Judon. They were already a bad team last year, and they got rid of their Hall of Fame coach. Now, the Browns, I have winning the AFC North. This is not something that I like to admit, but I'm being completely unbiased. I was very hyped about the Steelers last year, and that wasn't bias. And this is showing that I'm definitely not biased because I went through the Browns' schedule. It seems much easier. Their schedule does than the rest of the division. And they just get some sort of trap games in there with teams that are playing really good teams surrounding. Like a team will play a really good team and then play the Browns and then play another really good team. So that's a trap game that I would give to the Browns. I would give the Browns the win in that game. And then I got the Steelers. We were already 10-7 with Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky and Mason Rudolph. Now we've got Russell Wilson, a former Pro Bowler, possibly a Hall of Fame quarterback, coming to join us. We'll see if he can make himself a Hall of Fame quarterback. Maybe his days with Pittsburgh will tell. We still have Mike Tomlin, who has had countless consecutive non-losing seasons, and this should only continue with an upgraded quarterback, as well as Patrick Queen, who we stole from the Ratbirds, who will finish last place. The Ratbirds do have a tough schedule, and they should expect to see some decline of their defense, as their defense put up an insane performance last year, which I do not think will be duplicated without Patrick Queen, without really the luck of duplicating, of having an insane historic season, which they were first in points allowed and sacks and takeaways. Now, the Bengals, with Joe Burrow coming back, they could challenge for the division. I do have this division being very tight. I think the Steelers will beat the Bengals 1 out of 2 times, and I do think the Browns have a history of beating the Bengals, so I think the Browns will sweep them. That's really the difference. And the Steelers are better than the Bengals. They have been the past couple of years, I think. Now they're only getting better. Next up, we have the AFC South, with the Houston Texans winning this division very, very closely trailed by the Indianapolis Colts. I do have these two teams splitting. I have Anthony Richardson being a great breakout this year. I also have him on a fantasy team, Anthony Richardson. And I have CJ Stroud continuing to build off his rookie year with Stephon Diggs added. and Joe Mixon as potential, probably an upgrade at running back, I would say. And then their defense should stay about the same as last year. It wasn't good, but it wasn't that great, but it was competent. And I think the Texans should just edge out the Colts. The Colts who maybe even by half a game. The Colts who have Richardson, like I said, and Taylor, Jonathan Taylor, a great running back with a great offensive line with 2 former Pro Bowlers. Zaire Franklin, who's always one of the top tacklers in the league. They should be a very good team, and it is tough to win at Lucas Oil Stadium. It is a very great home field environment with the dome and all. And then I did like what Shane Steichen did in his first year in Indianapolis. Same goes for D'Amico Ryans. Jaguars, they have Trevor Lawrence, but they lost Zay Jones. And they have simply just... They have lost Calvin Ridley as well. They have simply just lost their mojo. They were 8-3 to start the year, and then they collapsed, missing the playoffs. I do not think they're going to get better from there. I just don't think they're as good as the other two teams. Their defense is much worse than the Colts' defense. It has been for a while. Foyesade Oluokun is there, but overall their defense is not great, and that's why I haven't put much confidence into the Jaguars through the past few years during their breakout. The Titans are next up. I think the Titans have the best receiving core, the deepest receiving core in the NFL. You've got DeAndre Hopkins, who is great. You've got Calvin Ridley, who is good. You've got Tyler Boyd, who has made a Pro Bowl, I believe, or at least had a few very, very successful seasons. You have Treylon Burks, who is still a promising young receiver who's shown talent, and you have Nick Westbrook-Akine, who is really good for a wide receiver 5. So I like their 5 wide receiver set, and then their defense isn't bad with Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry. And I don't think they're going to be too bad. Their corners are concerning. I don't really like their corners. I think they win 6 games or so. Now, next up, we have the AFC West. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win this division by a landslide. The Chargers have lost all of their offensive weapons, and they have a new coach, which is an upgrade. But I don't think he's good enough to take an offense that is just not good and turn them into a good team. Definitely not as good as the Chiefs. And then next up, it's going to be the Raiders, who still have Devontae Adams, the best wide receiver in the NFL. But they have a very questionable quarterback situation, and their defense is not good aside from Max Crosby. The Broncos are next up. They have another questionable quarterback situation. Some terrible receivers. The Broncos have a terrible receiving core. And their defense is solid, but it's not going to be too great. Their secondary is not going to be great. It's going to have Pat Surtain. But their safeties, why would they get rid of Justin Simmons? I don't know. But they got rid of him. They could be in contention for the number 1 overall pick. All right. Next up, we have the NFC East. Now, Saquon Barkley on the Eagles makes a large difference. I think that's why they win the division, as well as the fact that there hasn't been a repeat champion in that division since 2004. This will be the Eagles' division this year. It's their turn, even though I don't like Nick Sirianni. He's not a bad coach. And I definitely like Saquon Barkley, and he might rush for 2,000 yards behind an offensive line. Yes, they lost Kelsey, but behind an offensive line that propelled DeAndre Swift and Miles Sanders to Pro Bowl appearances in back-to-back seasons. Saquon Barkley's destined for greatness there. They also have a defense that looks great on paper with Kevin Byard, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Who else do they have? Sirius Slay, James Bradbury, who is going to be hurt. They have Nakobe Dean in the middle. They have Jordan Davis. So they do have a good defense. Josh Sweat. They have a good defense, but they just didn't perform last year. For some odd reason, they kind of collapsed. I think they'll get it together again, at least to a certain extent, to help them edge out the Cowboys. And I really do think Dak Prescott is a great quarterback for the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb's a great receiver. Micah Parsons is a great pass rusher. But the Cowboys seem to have something struggling in in the past little while, some sort of inferiority to the Eagles, it seems, until the Eagles surpassed them. The Eagles surpassed, or the Eagles let the Cowboys surpass them that last year. Although I do think Dallas is a better team than the Eagles. The Eagles have seemed to outperform them in terms of record the past couple of years. And the Eagles are getting even better adding Saquon Barkley. Just adding on to their stacked offense. Now, next up, Washington. They're going to be way below the Cowboys, I think, with Dan Quinn as their new head coach. They're going to have the exciting rookie Jaden Daniels, decent pass rush with Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne. And then Terry McLaurin, who is a very underrated receiver, possibly the most underrated in the league. Just ahead of Brian Daboll's New York Giants with a bad offense, a solid defense. I like Kayvon Thibodeau as a breakout. But other than that, not much is going to go right for the Giants this year. They're going to be the vastly inferior New York football team. Next up, we have the NFC North, and I did lose the Vikings magnet here. Apologies. But I do have the Lions winning that division very, very, very narrowly against an upgraded Packers team who will have Jair Alexander back for the whole season. We'll have Jordan Love, who might get even better. We'll have added Josh Jacobs, who is a large upgrade in the run game, and have many young receivers who could continue to get better. Rashawn Gary will also be healthy again. Now, we have the Bears, which are going to be below them with Caleb Williams and some solid receivers, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. I don't like Matt Eberflus as a coach being too good. I don't think he is too good. And their defense with Montez Sweat, they called it the Tez effect. They did improve a little. But this Bears team is just very average at best. Very below average. Just outside of the average tier in the NFL. I don't think Caleb Williams is going to be that great a rookie. I think at USC last year he wasn't great. And then last place Vikings. They should barely win anything. I mean, you got Sam Darnold at quarterback. You got a terrible defense. I do like Kevin O'Connell being good as a coach, but I mean, I think this one's too far. I don't think he can dig them out of this mess. Next, NFC South. I like the Falcons to win the division. I think they will. They upgraded their defense with the new safety duo, adding Justin Simmons to play alongside Jesse Bates. They were able to keep their offensive line intact. They were able to obtain two quarterbacks who were very promising, Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is probably the starter in all likelihood. And then I'm not a fan of their receivers, but I think the run game with Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier will make up for their lack of passing efficiency. Now, next up, it's the Saints. It's the Buccaneers next up. Todd Bowles is an underrated coach, I'd say, and Baker Mayfield did play well last year. I think they build off that a little bit. I think they're not a playoff team, but they're about average this year, with their defense still being solid with Levante David and Antoine Winfield. Tristan Wirfs on the line. Rachaad White, I don't think he's great, but he's serviceable behind the Buccaneers' offensive line. And then next up is the Saints, which Dennis Allen is their coach. I don't think he's a good coach. I don't think he should still be the coach. Dennis Allen. I think he's probably the worst coach in the league off the top of my head. Derek Carr's at quarterback. He's underperformed for them. Although he did perform about as well as the league MVP last year, the fraudulent league MVP Lamar Jackson. He has underperformed for the Saints, I believe. Derek Carr. Kamara will be there, and their defense is always solid with Demario Davis, Marshawn Lattimore. Cam Jordan's still playing at this old age. And they'll certainly finish ahead of the Panthers unless Bryce Young makes an insane jump, which I don't think he will. His run game won't be that great. He'll have Deontay Johnson, which will help him out. And then their defense has lost pieces like Dante Jackson and Brian Burns, so I don't think the Panthers will be anything but last place in the entire NFL, honestly. Lastly now, it's going to be the Rams in first place in the NFC West. Yes, you see that correctly. Now, they have a much easier schedule than the 49ers. And the Rams, they have a very, very revamped defense. Their offense will be great with a healthy Kupp and Puka Nacua finally playing together. Kupp was never fully healthy for a long period of time last year with his shoulder injury and his hamstring injury. Sean McVay has said he'll be the focal point again. Expect another 1,500-yard season from Cooper Kupp. Another insane, possibly record-breaking. I don't know if that'll be the case because he'll have competition for targets. But he will be at his peak form, I believe Kupp will be, for a couple of more seasons at least, past the age of 30. The Niners, they will be great as well. They will have a great record as well, but I just think that the Rams will edge them out. Both of these teams' coaches are great, Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, but I think the Rams edge them out. Stafford is clearly the better quarterback. You got Tre'Davious White and Cameron Curl added to the Rams, although they did lose Ernest Jones. I don't know what they were doing there. Kobe Turner was a great rookie for the Rams. And their defense, I think it'll be above average. I mean, Kobe Durant was good for them. They've got solid defenders. And they do lose their defensive coordinator, but I don't think that'll be a huge deal for them. I think they'll be able to work through it with all the talent they have and that they've added. And yeah, I think their defense is close to as good as the 49ers, and I just think the Rams' offense, their passing attack is potent, and their offensive line is upgraded. I think they'll be able to outduel the 49ers. As the 49ers, I don't think Purdy's going to play great. If he does, I'll give him credit, but I don't think he's a top 20 quarterback. It's just my opinion. And then we've got Arizona. Kyler Murray's a great quarterback. I think they'll be able to finish higher than Seattle with Geno Smith. Seattle's offense is very average. I've also lost their magnet. But Seattle's offense, very average. Defense also average, losing Quandre Diggs. And Arizona, they've still got Budda Baker. They've still got some players kicking around. Sean Murphy-Bunning's still there. Jalen Thompson. And on offense, the promising rookie Marvin Harrison Jr. James Conner's still there. Solid offensive line. And yeah, they're going to be contending with the, maybe not for the playoffs, but they might be, 500 in 9-8. It's not out of the cards for the Cardinals. Not out of the cards for the Cards. Yes, so anyone just thinking the Niners are a shoo-in to win the division, think again. Thanks for watching, folks. I know YouTube hasn't been a place that Saturday Ticket has had many uploads, but I'm looking to change that in the future. Things just they don't work out sometimes in terms of availability to upload videos or even, willingness. Like, that's something I've got to work on, motivation to upload videos. And you know what would help with that? If you guys hit the subscribe button and maybe dropped a comment, just like saying, Saturday Ticket, you got to continue to put out this content because it makes our days and it is great for the YouTube community. Now, tomorrow we've got the Ratbirds and the Chiefs, which of course the Chiefs are going to smoke them. Not worried about that. But Packers-Eagles, that's an interesting game. I think the Eagles will win that one. It's not even a game that is hosted by either team. It's in Brazil. So I think the Eagles should win that, but you never know. You never know if the Eagles are not going to figure out how to use Barkley quickly enough. And you never know if Jordan Love's going to carve up the Eagles secondary, which, like I said, has very much name value, very good names on it, but hasn't performed well in the recent past. So thanks for watching, everybody, and bye-bye.